because I've heard questions about that one. So let's look at number 15. It's -2 plus k over 2 is greater than or equal to 3. So if you want to get k by itself, my first step is to add 2 to each side. I want to move the 2 over. So when I add 2 to each side, k over 2 is greater than or equal to 5. And if I have 2 on the bottom, or on the denominator, I want to get rid of that, so I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal. So if I multiply each side by 2, then that will cancel the 2 on the left. So if I multiply this side by 2 and the right side by 2, it's like saying multiplying by 2 over 1. The 2's will cancel, and I'm left with k is greater than or equal to 10. What happens, like let's say that it was a negative on the left side, and I needed to multiply by a negative. What would happen to the sign? It would flip. So remember, when you multiply by a negative, it flips the sign, and it would become k is less than or equal to 10. So when it's negative, remember to flip the sign. So let's look at 33 through 38, because I know we had some questions about those, or I got some people that came in and asked about them. So all of these have to do with properties of exponents, and I'm 100% confident that you learned them in Algebra 1, but we also learned them again in Algebra 2. So I'm going to just go over a few of them. Whenever you have, like if you look at number 33, we have 2n cubed times 3n cubed. And what I like to kind of do, there's these little like hand gestures I guess you could do, but if they're side by side, so the n cubed and the n cubed are side by side, then you add the exponents together. So they're on the same even playing field. Since they are side by side, then you just add the exponents together. So it would be 2 times 3, because the numbers go together. So I'm multiplying 2 times 3, which is 6. Then since the n cubed and the n cubed are side by side, you add the exponents, so 3 plus 3 is what? 6. So you have n to the 6th power. So when they are side by side, you add. You might want to just write that down. When they are side by side, you add. If you look at 35, actually let's do 36, that one's better. We have 2k to the 3rd power, and then all of that squared, raised to the 2nd power. So now my exponents are not side by side. I have a power to a power. So anytime you have a power to a power, they are not on the same even playing field, so power to a power, then you're going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply the exponents. So I can write this as 2 squared, and 2 squared is what? 4. So I'm applying this squared to both the 2 and to the k to the 3rd power. So 2 squared is 4. And then I'm now going to multiply these exponents. So 3 times 2 gives me what? 6. So I have 4k to the 6th power. That's called a power to a power. So think, are they side by side? You add. Power to a power, you multiply. And then lastly, we can look at 38. So what about when you have a rational, or you have a fraction? It's called a rational. But anytime that you have a fraction, you are going to subtract. So I have 3nm squared over 2mn squared. So remember, like terms go together. So the numbers go together, the m's go together, and the n's go together. Can I reduce 3 over 2 any further? No, I cannot. So I'm just going to leave that as 3 over 2. The next thing are the n's. So I have an n over an n squared. Which exponent is bigger, the top or the bottom? The bottom. So it's going to stay on the bottom. And I'm going to subtract. So 2 minus 1 just gives me what? 1. So I'm going to leave n on the bottom, n to the first power, or just n. But it always stays where it's biggest. So if it's a larger exponent on top, if it were n squared over n, then you would leave the n at the top. If it's n squared on the bottom and it's bigger, you keep it on the bottom. Then we have m squared over m. So that leaves me with what? 1m from the top. Perfect. So if the m squared and the m go together, m squared is bigger, so I keep the m on the top. So that leaves me with 3m over 2n. All right, so it's asking us what transformation occurs. So one thing that you could do is graph the equation, see what it looks like in your graph, and then decide whether it goes right, left, up, down. Is it bigger? Is it smaller? Because every single parent function starts at the origin, which is 0, 0, like the very center of your graph. And then what we do to that function determines what transformation occurs. So there's an easy way to look at the equation, even without graphing it, and decide what transformation happened. The number that is in front, so I'm just going to circle this right here, this 1/2, and this 2. You might want to just make yourself like a note. The numbers that are in front tell you what it does, like does it stretch or does it shrink? If it is a number that is bigger than 1, then it is going to stretch. So I'm going to say that there is a vertical stretch by 2. So if the number in front is bigger than 1, then it stretches. If it is less than 1, then we call it a shrink. So what would 51 be? Would it be a shrink or a stretch? It'd be a shrink. So we would say vertical shrink by 1/2. So that's what the number in front does. If you have a negative sign, so 51 has a negative sign right here. If it is negative, then you say it reflects the x-axis. If it doesn't have a negative sign, if it's positive, then you just leave it be. You don't say anything. Yes?
Is that going to reflect the little y-axis?
No, we don't learn that transformation. So if it's negative, you say reflects x-axis. If it's not negative, you just don't say anything. The number that is attached to the x, like in parentheses or in absolute value, so these two right here, they are with the x. That tells you whether it goes right or left. You always take the opposite sign. So opposite sign. So if it's x minus 1, that means that it goes to the right 1 unit. So then for 52, what would it do? If it's x plus 3, I'm going to take the opposite sign, so it goes what? Left 3 units. Good. Then the number that is on the outside, in this case, there's nothing there. In 52, you have a minus 4. 51 means that it doesn't go up or down. So you keep the sign and it's up or down, that many units. If there's nothing there, then it just stays the same. It's up or down 0 units, nothing there. So you just kind of leave it be. But for 52, there's a minus 4 at the end. I keep that sign, so that means that it goes down 4 units. Good.